It's corporate crony capitalism.
That's right.
We have nothing. We do not have. It's all monopoly capitalism.
Yes, exactly.
It's, you look at all these franchises. They're all owned, but that have replaced our main street stores, and
Right.
they're all run by Goldman and these other big companies that are just strip mining the wealth from the American middle class and taking away our sovereignty, our power, and it's all fixable. It's all fixable, but the Democrats can't fix it. The Republicans can't fix it. They're all part of the problem.
Well, they don't want to. I thought it was hopeful.
I think Trump wants to fix it.
Well,
but
he does, yeah.
I think he has a good instincts, but he doesn't have the depth.
Oh, I think he does.
You think he does?
I think he
Well,
does.
then why did he go along with the COVID lockdown?
Well, I think
Because he said, I'll never do it.
Mhm.
And then he did it. And, he gets overwhelmed by his bureaucrats.
Yeah, I
and
think
then,
that happens.
he had this incredible deal where he went to Korea and he walked across the DMZ.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Zone, and
Yeah.
all the liberals attacked him because he met with Kim and everybody said, oh, he likes dictators. But then he came back and he created this agreement to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula. And
Right.
both Kim and at that time the president of South Korea was Moon Jae-in,
Mhm.
and the two of them agreed, we're going to get rid of all nuclear weapons on this peninsula. How good would that be for the world? Then they went to President Xi in China, and he signed on to it.
Right.
And then John Bolton,
Yeah.
Mike Pompeo,
Mhm.
came to Trump and said, you can't do it. And he caved in. And he knew it was the right thing, but he didn't have the depth to say, I'm going to do it. And, and you guys are, what I think about him is that he has really good instincts. He had great instincts about the vaccines. He had great instincts about ivermectin. He had great
Mhm.
instincts about not shutting down our society, the social distancing, the masking, and many other things. But I think he gets rolled by his bureaucrats because he doesn't have the depth of knowledge.
Do you think that's depth, or do
What?
you think that he does that because of depth, or maybe
I
other
think it's
reasons?
depth. I think he's like us, that he kind of has ADHD and he skips around. So I think he knows a lot of these issues on the surface and he knows what to do. But when you get in
Well,
a
also, when you're a creative person, when you have ideas, when you have ideas to make things better, you can't really fathom the malfeasance of people who don't.
yeah, but and now what I would say, Roseanne,
Maybe he does now.
yeah, maybe he does now. Except that the people he's talking about bringing in, like Jamie Dimon, are not the kind of people who,
I said that too, but
or John Bolton.
he came on and said,
He's now said he's not going to
he
do
said
that.
that he never
But
said
he told
that.
Bloomberg he was.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a little bit of history. When my uncle, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, my father disappeared for 13 days. We only lived 7 minutes from downtown. At that time, you could get from my house to the Justice Department in 7 minutes, and driving fast. We lived across the Potomac in McLean, but my father never came home for 13 days. He slept at the White House, and this was the 13 most perilous days in the history of our planet,
Yeah,
because we were this close to nuclear exchange with the Russians. And there were 13 people in the committee that was meeting continuously to figure out what to do. It's called the XCOM Committee. And the first day they voted, and it was 11-13 to invade Cuba.
Right.
My uncle started saying, and the only two people who didn't want to invade at that point were my father and Robert McNamara. And my uncle said to the CIA, he said, let me see the aerial photos. And he started studying himself the aerial photos of the missile sites. There was 64 missile sites. And he said, how many men are on each of these missile sites? And they said it may be 600 men to man each site. And he said, are they Cubans or are they Russians? And they said, well, we don't know, but we think they have to be Russians. My uncle said, if we bomb those sites, we kill all those Russians, isn't Khrushchev going to have to go into Berlin? And that's going to be the beginning of World War III. And they said, we don't think he has the guts to do that. So that's the level of their depth in decision making. And my uncle said, we got to figure out something else. They met for 13 days. And then, my uncle and father figured out how to do it. This extraordinary story about how to bring an end to it through an embargo and through a secret agreement with Khrushchev that we would remove our missiles, our Jupiter missiles from Turkey secretly if he agreed to pull the missiles out of Cuba. And he ultimately agreed because he didn't want to go to war either. My uncle installed a hotline at that time where he could talk directly to Khrushchev because he knew all the people around him wanted a war. But he was able to stand up to his bureaucrats. And in fact, the last day, he said to the ex-con committee, let's take a final vote. The ex-con committee voted 8-6 at that point to invade. And my uncle said the sixes have it. So in other words, whatever they said, he wasn't going to do. He made up his own mind about what was going to happen, and he did that. And I don't think, I think he was able to do that because he had a military background himself. He mistrusted the brass. He didn't trust his own intelligence apparatus because of the Bay of Pigs. And he also had an intense, granular knowledge of what was happening and a curiosity about it. And he was able, that gave him the capacity to stand up to an intransigent bureaucracy. And I do not think that President Trump has that quality. I hope he does now. Maybe he's gained it in the interim, but I don't, I haven't seen that from him.
So you see